everyone. It is Friday, and this is Outnumbered. I'm Kayleigh McEnany, here with my co-host, Emily Compagno. Also joining us, Fox News correspondent Molly Line, Fox News contributor Leslie Marshall, and professor of medicine at NYU Langone Medical Center and Fox News contributor Dr. Mark Siegel. Well, thousands of New Yorkers descending on the Bronx for former President Donald Trump's historic campaign event. First time a Republican presidential candidate had been there in 40 years. And lines, well, they were spanning blocks long. Crowds chanted for 4 more years, USA, and we want Trump in the deep blue city. Trump promised his supporters that he would save Democrat-led New York City.
I'm here tonight to declare that we are going to turn New York City around, and we are going to turn it around very, very quickly. We're going to bring safety back to our streets. We're going to bring success back to our schools. We're going to bring prosperity back to every neighborhood and every borough of the greatest city in our land. Our subways are squalid and unsafe. The ceiling tiles are falling down, and they look worse than a third world country. The medians of our highways are crumbling, and we have mobs of migrants fighting our police officers and giving America the middle finger. But we are not going to let this continue. We are not going to abandon our hope and our pride. This city has given us so much, and now it is time that we are going to give it back. Together, we are going to make New York City great again.
The crowd clearly there to support former President Trump, but they were also pretty fed up with President Biden. Here's what they told Jesse Watters Primetime.
To support Donald Trump, to put America first.
I like Trump because he keep it real. He don't got no filter. He's for the people.
He speaks money, and this is what the country needs. We need money, not inflation. We need money.
Everything was under control. We had low inflation. We had gas under $1.80.
How has Joe Biden addressed those issues?
He hasn't.
He hasn't addressed them. He wants to make them worse.
What a contrast. But New York's Democratic governor was quick to mock the thousands of voters who turned out, comparing the whole thing to a circus act.
Well, I'll tell you, it won't make a difference at all, Jake, and that is for Donald Trump to be the ringleader of and invite all his clowns to a place like the Bronx. New York will never, ever support Donald Trump for president. We know him better than anyone, and that means we understand what he's all about is just for himself. So this state will go solidly behind Joe Biden for president, as it has in the past.
So she compares Bronx rallygoers to clowns. Emily, this comes a few weeks after she had this to say about Bronx kids. Watch.
Right now we have, young black kids growing up in the Bronx who don't even know what the word computer is. They don't know. They don't know these things.
She said she regretted that. She said she misspoke. And then weeks later, she calls Bronx rallygoers clowns.
That's exactly what first popped in my mind when I heard her statements about the rally. Kayleigh, you know I'm a New Yorker. I'm a New York resident. And certainly the governor doesn't speak for me when she talks about and scoffs at President Trump holding a rally here, because the difference between the Democrat Party and Trump, refreshingly, is that he doesn't take certain groups for granted. He doesn't take any voter for granted. He is actively courting here, especially the Black and Hispanic groups that the Democrat Party has taken granted for so long. And as the New York Post editorial board writes, they're hungry for a change. And I posit that it actually goes much further in that all Americans are hungry for a change because we are all miserable under this administration. Now, you contrast that with A, Biden ignoring those groups, B, putting them in a box, or C, with his Morehouse speech, for example, where he continues to tout a victimhood mentality. Their strategy and their position is so far in the past. It's so antiquated. And yet right now, when they're looking them in the face and say, you aren't black if you don't vote for me, not at all. They are American. Everyone is an American. Everyone votes individually. And President Trump is appealing to that by saying, I see you. Let's make it all better. And let's work on policies, not your skin color.
Yeah, you're exactly right. I was watching a pollster this week, and this pollster was saying, when you attack a candidate for his policies, make sure not to attack his or her voters. But Democrats have a very bad history of attacking voters. Let's take a walk down memory lane.
basket of deplorables.
Rural people out there voting their craziness about the cult.
Credulous boomer Rube demo that backs Donald Trump, that wants to think that Donald Trump's a smart one, and y'all elitists are dumb.
The MAGA Republicans represent an extremism that threatens the very foundations of our republic.
I mean, why, Leslie? Why?
Can I play a feed, or actually, can we just read my my X page? Look, I can't stand name calling. I think it's immature, it's unprofessional. I think that we as people, and especially as Americans, should be better than that. But it happens on both sides. Donald Trump has said terrible things about liberals.
No, about Biden.
Deplorables.
He doesn't attack Biden voters.
Oh, I would disagree. And if not Donald Trump, many in the Republican Party.
But I mean, examples. I always hear Donald Trump attacks voters, but I never see examples. I would love. Send us the clips, Leslie.
Okay. Should I say what? No, I don't. Yeah.
Say them or send us the clips.
I'll send you the clips. But let's look at what really matters, which is numbers, because that's what politics is, and that is what it comes down to, are numbers. In the state of New York, you have almost a double-digit lead by Joe Biden. That's going to be hard to close the gap. I don't think New York is going to go red from blue for Donald Trump. When we look at the Bronx rally, I'm not surprised. First of all, not everybody there, which it is an overwhelming African-American Latino district, is from the Bronx. There are people outside who are big fans of Donald Trump. You know, they're in New York, and they live in New York. They come out to see him. Their former president. They want to be president again. But numbers-wise, when you look at the Republican Party, they have become more multiracial. They have become more of the working class party. And now Democrats have become more of the super educated suburban voter party. We've been seeing those trends change. So I'm not really surprised to see that. And one last thing. In 2016, people laughed at me when I said, I'm nervous about those crowds. If those crowds come out to vote, Hillary's not going to win. Ding, ding, ding. I was right. I love saying I was right, but I was right there. But this crowd, this doesn't worry me like 2016.
Okay, two counters to that. First of all, if we want to talk numbers, I mean, let's pull it up. Latest Bloomberg swing state poll. Here you go. Donald Trump is winning all these swing states. And in fact, when you average it together, he's winning 48 to 44% in swing states overall. When it comes to the crowd that you're not worried about, Leslie, Dr. Siegel, CNN, I'm sure it was very difficult. They had to admit that it was a large crowd. Furthermore, they had to admit that the crowd was largely from the Bronx. Watch this.
What was the crowd like, and what kind of response did he get?
Well, certainly a bigger crowd than I think Democrats would like to see, particularly given this is one of the bluest counties in the entire country. Now, one of the things that was interesting to me is that the Trump campaign said that they were going to micro-target to get people from the community to come to this rally. I wasn't sure what to expect. I've gone to a lot of these rallies across the country, and there are often people who travel hundreds of miles to see Donald Trump, and they're not necessarily part of the community. However, one of the things that I found was that there were a lot of people here that were actually from the Bronx.
Now, admittedly, I'm more interested in listening to the YMCA than the CNN reporter, but at the end, she said, a bunch of them are from the Bronx, and there are many here.
And, of course, Donald Trump is from Queens. And when I was in the White House with him in 2020, we talked about both of us being street fighters. This is him being a street fighter. This is him going as the underdog. I think this plays to the American spirit, not to the issue of politics here, to the American spirit, where America has always been a country where we come from behind, where we go against the odds. D-Day is coming up June 6th, 80 years from the time when we landed on the beaches in Normandy. Overwhelming odds against the United States. We took back France. Here, Trump is saying, I don't care whether I'm ahead or behind in New York. I'm for America here, and that's what he's trying to do.
It's what Reagan did in 1980, and he prevailed over Carter. Molly, AOC tweeted this. So this was the initial tweet. Crotona Park is going to be a muddy mess tonight for the Trump rally. She quote tweeted it with God is good. So celebrating the bad weather for Trump. Well, there was an incredible man who my mom cannot stop talking to me about because she loved him so much. I did too. Reverend Ruben Diaz Sr. He'll be on with me this evening on the Ingram Angle. He had this to say about AOC at the rally. Watch.
I want to tell AOC this morning she intended to become a prophet. And she said, even God doesn't want Trump in the Bronx because it's going to rain. Madame Prophet AOC, you have become a false prophet.
I mean, the weather was beautiful.
Big turnout, nice weather. I have to say, AOC and Kathy Hochul, they both seem a little bit nervous. If you're name calling, not only does it look a little petty, it also makes you look like you might be a little scared. They may have good reason to be scared. I covered a historically amazing political race in Massachusetts when Scott Brown in 2010 drove this little pickup truck across the blue state of Massachusetts, a little-known Republican senator, played to those voters, played to those independents, tried to earn every vote, and then he did, and he went on to be a senator. So this is not necessarily a silly play by Donald Trump. He makes smart moves and has campaigned very effectively in the past. So he may be the one that knows something that others don't. We're seeing the numbers. In the last election there in the Bronx, 27% of registered voters turning out. There is an enthusiasm problem there. Even though New York City tends to go historically Democrat, it's considered a Democratic stronghold, some issues there.
It's a great point. You know, Biden carried 84.4% of the Bronx, but only 27% showed up. So interesting point, Molly.
Hey, everyone. I'm Emily Campagno. Catch me and my co-hosts Harris Faulkner and Kaylee McEnany on Outnumbered every weekday at 12 p.m. Eastern, or set your DVR. Also, don't forget to subscribe to the Fox News YouTube page for daily highlights.